Hello, everyone. This is Amanda with PropLogics. Can you hear me all?
I gotcha. I can hear you there.
If you can hear me, just say yes in the chat real quick so everything's good. I'm not sure.
Hello, Fort Lauderdale. If you can hear us, yes, there we go.
Okay, yes, thank you. Thank you, Hillary.
Okay.
Breaking up a bit. Yeah, I know there are a lot of people online today, so hopefully the quality will be okay. All right, so we're going to wait just a few more minutes because it's not quite noon yet, and I want to make sure everyone who's anticipating coming is able to catch everything today. So in the meantime, I'm going to throw up a poll for everyone. If you let us know how things are going with your business, we're curious to know how your title orders are going. Are you seeing an increase, decrease, or is everything staying about the same for you during this this outbreak? Hopefully everything is going well for you still. I know lots of things are changing around the nation. Things are definitely becoming difficult. So just give us some feedback on what you're experiencing right now. Hopefully you all are staying safe, your employees and your customers. Looks like most people are saying about the same, so that's good. Still busy, especially in refinances. Yeah, that's very true.
It may be helpful too, as they're saying increase, decrease, put what part of the state that you're servicing too, because I'm guessing some of the South Florida is probably getting some of the decrease from an international business, maybe in and around the Orlando area. That's lots of international as well. So kind of get a tone,
yeah, definitely. And I think there are definitely people showing up from around the U.S. So if you're outside of the state of Florida, let us know as well. We've got someone from Illinois here. Oh, someone's using only remote right now. That's great.
Wow.
Small decrease in Key West.
I'll say is that if they're using only remote, do they have all the lenders on board, or are those all cash deals?
Good question.
I was say we only have about 10 to 20% of the lenders in the world participating right now. So they may be lucky and just dealing with one lender.
If that many.
So yeah, it looks like most people are still busy.
As we found out, there's less. Yeah.
No remote notary, Andrea says. Lenders don't. Okay.
Mostly refis.
All right, so it's noon. So if you haven't taken the poll yet, go ahead and do that. We're asking people what their title orders are looking like right now due to the coronavirus outbreak. If you're seeing an increase or decrease, or about the same. And while you're doing that, I'll go ahead and get started and just do a little quick housekeeping. Obviously, most of you have seen the chat on the right-hand side of the screen already. If you want to ask a question, you can type it in there and you'll see a little orange button pop up that says ask a question. And that'll basically put it in the queue for us to get to at the end of the presentation. You can also just go straight to that button on the bottom that says ask a question and put your question in there. And we'll get to all of those at the end. There's also the poll there as well. If we come up with some more polls throughout, we can go ahead and do that. And I have with me today, and just to let you all know, my name is Amanda. I work with PropLogics. We're a title support company. We will help provide due diligence services like municipal lien searches and association research. We help survey coordination as well as some post-closing release tracking. And a bunch of other title support services to help you with your title production workflows. I'm joined today with Aaron Davis. We got last minute speaker. Aaron decided to join us because he has some really great expertise and experience with remote closings and enabling title agents in Florida specifically to start with remote closings. So he's going to speak a little bit about, getting your closing process situated for remote closings. And then I'm also joined by Scott Merritt today of FLTA, Florida Land Title Association. So thank you so much both for being here. And I'm really glad all of you have joined us today. It looks like we've got over 200 live attendees. That's great. And it looks like so far, 82% of you are saying everything's about the same business-wise. So that's really great. Glad to hear that for sure. Okay, so I am going to go ahead. I'm going to start the presentation. Scott, you're going to kick it off, and we'll go on from there. And if you guys have anything you want to say to start, feel free.
Yeah, so first off, thank you, Amanda and PropLogics for putting this together. It's definitely a unique and interesting time. Hope everyone is safe and well with their families and team members and certainly businesses. This time is interesting and very timely for remote online notary, and obviously just the level of interest has skyrocketed, for lack of better words. In fact, Amanda, earlier this week I've been tracking and following numbers. The Department of State I spoke to shared that they're receiving literally 100 to 200 applications to become a remote online notary a day. At the beginning of this week, on Monday, there were 437 approved online notaries. By Wednesday morning, there were 495 that were posted. And this morning, there's 560. So the interest is there, the desire is growing. But what is interesting, this isn't interesting, I should say, but the number of applications that are being denied and stuff, and a lot of it has to do with some just incomplete applications, missed information, improperly answered questions. And man, if I can share a couple of those before we dive into some of these other things, because I think it's important as folks start to talk or show their interest. Obviously, you've got to take the 2-hour class. You have to be an existing notary and everything. But when you're filling out the state application, there is a question, and it says, "I will use the following RON service provider in compliance with Florida law." That is asking you, what RON platform are you planning to utilize? A lot of these applications are coming in sold with the answer yes, as in the RON platform. It's very important you list and name the platform you're going to use. Your E&O insurance policy of $25,000. If you are using your business or your title agency's E&O platform or policy, you must include the clause showing or explaining online notary error and omissions is included in that policy. Again, they'll deny it if it's not there. The cover page itself is not proof enough. They must have the clause. And then lastly, a lot of folks don't want to go through the expense, but being an online notary is tied to your personal name, not your business or entity. So they do recommend purchasing your own individual E&O policy of $25,000. And then two more things. Copy of your current notary certificate. I mentioned you have to be a current notary to become a RON notary. Per the statute, you must provide the copy of certificate if you do not have one. Aaron, we just went through this. You order it through your bonding agency, but you have to expect it won't be there for 3 to 4 weeks. Now, you might be able to apply pressure, kind of the sense of urgency and everything, but generally speaking, the bonding agencies are saying 3 to 4 weeks. A screenshot of what they have on the Department of State's website, it's it's not enough. You need the certificate. And then lastly, we're finding this because a current notary, you only have to have a $7,500 bond. As a online notary, you have to have a $25,000 bond. Going to your bonding agency and asking for a bond of $17,500 to make up the difference for a total of $25,000 is not acceptable. The state wants one bond for $25,000. So those are the four items that they asked that I share with everyone that are creating most of the denials that are happening. So yesterday alone, they denied 125 applications. That's how important it is to have that information. So I just want to be sure we share that. All right, so Aaron, you might be able to speak to this. I've heard of a couple of platforms that allow you as a third-party notary to utilize their platform. Do you have some specific names? Obviously, it's up to the notary to verify and validate that the platform covers Florida or meets the minimum Florida law. Do you have any on that?
Yeah, there's several, and they're growing, growing by the day, it seems. The ones that I'd say the ones that have been in the marketplace for the longest time, and that do have the most recognition and use amongst the lender side of the world, as well as agents. Certainly Notarize, Notary Cam, Pavaso, Black Knight. They have a product. And there's several several more that are out there. Matter of fact, Scott, you've got that you found that great website with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac that was able to show there's literally about 20 of them right now, and it's all about functionality and user experience. So those are the things to look for. We've been certified on almost all the platforms at this point because it's not always going to be our decision as to which ones to use. It may be the lender's decision that they're going to go with brand A.
That's right. So you kind of hit on it there, Amanda. I'll get you those links to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mae on their approved vendors that they offer or authorize for these transactions. But specifically to allow you as a notary, I mean, obviously the platforms are approved and everything, and they all have their own employed notaries. Any specific ones that allow you as a third party to be the notary?
Yeah, third party.
Platform?
Sure. Yeah, I know that. I know that that Notary Cams and Pavasos and now Notarize. They just rolled out. That was what we've been in beta test with them for the last several months. Was developing that user experience for the agents. So they just opened that up as well. So that's where we've got a lot of practice on the remote onlines.
Yeah. So, and then this last question here, are there additional fees for remote notarization? Obviously, it's a different line of business. The notary themselves cannot charge more than $25 per notarial act. I understand that there are other fees that might be attached to the process of utilizing online notary. Those are typically passed on to the consumer, wouldn't you say, Aaron?
They typically, I'm going to say they will. You're right now. You're seeing this is this was still evolving.
Right.
So I know in our situation, this was not a fee that the consumers were used to seeing yet. So I think a lot of agents were hesitant about passing that through, just for fear of questioning. So we look at it as oftentimes most of us do mail away closings or courtesy closings. So we may have an extra fee of $100, $150, $175. So truly, this experience is just kind of replacing that mail away piece. And I think what we'll end up doing collectively as an industry is probably just putting it within the closing services fee, or roll it into a technology fee.
Got it. So Amanda, let's continue moving here. The Secure Act. Yes. So Alta and others have recently introduced this bill into the federal legislature. So backed by Alta. This is it's a very interesting opportunity. By and large, this will not impact Florida's remote online notary because we passed it in 2019. It's now into effect as of January 1. The Secure Act really focuses on the 20 states thereabout that do not offer RON. This is an opportunity for those current notaries to automatically be approved with minimum standards nationwide. It does provide the interstate recognition that's important, and I think it was just yesterday that companion bill was introduced. So they were trying to get it into some of the relief, not the relief package, but a lot of the relief legislation. But sounds like it's a standalone, and I think at the end of the presentation today, we've got it, but. If you go to alta.org/Ron, you can read some of the background info on this. It is important to understand that FaceTime, Skype, webinar platforms are not adequate and approved for this. Has to be a notary platform where you can verify, validate who the person is on the other side, all those kinds of steps. So there's that. Let's see here. I had a couple of items.
Yeah, Scott, I would add to that too. Just from a national perspective, you got to remember there's about 20 states that still never had the remote online bills in place, and those transaction people don't want to come into offices anymore. So this is an absolute necessity for the industry as a whole to allow for interstate recognition of notaries and to allow all 50 states to immediately adopt RON rules so that we can conduct business in this environment.
Yeah. So the term I was looking for, I can't believe it slipped my mind. It was tamper-evident technology in electronic notarizations. So it requires that fraud prevention and complements existing state laws. And then as those states come online with their own rules and regulations, those will supersede these. So it's really just a foundation of getting it up and running. I understand that I think the New York governor just kind of trumped everything and authorized it.
Do they have a pending legislation or?
Well, they did, but the way I understood it was the governor said that if you're a notary, you can do this.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah. Kind of interesting. So if you're in New York, verify that. But because everything right now, it's coming from all angles, and it's difficult to track.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there's a lot of politics involved as well. So there's definitely some maneuvering and positioning in some of these comments.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump here. I see this question from Sue. Do we have to already be signed up with all of the sites, or wait until the lender tells us what? If you are going to be the notary, you have to be signed up with the platform, but more importantly, you have to notify the state which platform you are using. So there is that.
Yeah, my suggestion is go ahead and select one and get used to using it, because you will have the ability to utilize the platform you want to use for your cash deals, even maybe for your seller sides. And if a lender is okay with the e-note e-vault process, which we'll talk about that in a minute, then you can utilize whichever platform you want as long as it meets the basic criteria.
So do you guys want to jump in to the closing process and with the remote closings now? Or
looking
do you want
here,
to go ahead?
By all means. As a matter of fact,
There's
if you
also
want,
a question here about data mining. I'm not sure if that's something you want to address now or at the end.
possible data mining. Yeah, I mean, all of those platforms are, built. Their ISO was at ISO 27001, SOC 2, Type 2. I mean, they're all pretty airtight, and they have. We've reviewed all of the specific languages and all of their contracts as to use of client data. They are not to do anything with those. So that's definitely something that was of concern to us, no doubt. And we've reviewed every contract there is.
There you go.
Oh, we have
So,
a comment
well, Scott,
here.
you're the closer. You go through this.
That's fair. This is your bailiwick.
Hey, I was gonna say when you're ready, just unload all of them, and I'll talk through each step, so I don't have to go through step by step.
And I just want to draw attention to this comment. Executive Order 202.7 addresses the remote notary in New York. So that's related to what Scott was saying earlier.
Yep. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. So yeah, if you want to go ahead, just go ahead and open up all those the bullets on the closing process, and I'll talk through those individually for the agents. There we go. Okay, so those that aren't familiar with the process, this is kind of a step-by-step as to how most platforms work. And you can certainly go to YouTube or Google, the brand of your choice, and look at the videos. They all have some pretty pretty good minute, 2-minute videos to explain the process. We're putting out a lot of that material right now online, so there are real estate agents, our buyers and sellers are all familiar with how each platform works. So I'm a buyer, I'm a party to a transaction. I receive a link allowing me to enter a portal. At that time, I have to enter in my name, some of my credentials, last 4 digits of my social. At that time, the social is pinged against some of the national databases to confirm, some basic validation questions. These are knowledge-based authentication questions. So this is not, what's the street you grew up on and what's your mother's maiden names. I can hack your Facebook and figure that out. What they're looking for is, zip codes of addresses that you used to have. Who do you currently have your car payment with? Those sorts of things that are found on your credit reports. So next up, your documents are reviewed by once that is authenticated, and then the identification is presented. So you'll have to have a good camera. I think, matter of fact, minimum standards of state law requires a 720 or a 1080i or 1080p camera. So you got to have a high resolution. So it's going to pick up the digital imagery that's on the identification. So on the front, you've got some of the height, the pieces that stand out, the little foil stamps and whatnot. And on the back, you have that barcode, and that barcode allows you to access the national database, pings that make sure that that identification is in fact good and not expired. So enters the portal, now conducts the closing. All of your closing documents are uploaded on the portal, and they're tagged with all signature blocks and date blocks accordingly. So once the client goes through and signs all of those documents, and you as the closer, if you are conducting the closing and controlling the experiment with your own e-notary, or the experience with your own e-notary, then you are conducting the closing yourself, explaining the documents, and then as a notarial act comes up, your e-notary can then apply the seals as needed and conduct an entire closing. And then once you're done, you click the final button and the file is done. Everything is immediately PDF'd. Anyone who has ever used a DocuSign, for instance, signing a real estate contract or an insurance form, is very familiar with the process of how automated and slick it is. So we can go to the next slide unless there's some questions.
Oh. Yeah, sorry. It looks like some people are having issues with their browsers, but I think it's just because the internet's overloaded right now in general, to be honest. Oh, and
Scott is
sorry.
breaking the internet. He's like J-Lo. He's like J-Lo here. So
Wow. Wow.
he's like the J-Lo of title.
Nice.
All right. So here's the things. Look, this is what we wanted to make sure. Just like the problems, the issues that we're having, even on this feed. Look at this. Everyone is online. The Zoom is having problems.
Yeah.
WebEx is having problems. Everyone is now, going to a remote environment. Everyone's clogging up the channels. Kids are home playing Fortnite. I mean, they're totally screwing things up for us as we're trying to conduct business. So bandwidth is an issue. These are the things this is real life. So let's talk additionally, not only just from a remote workforce standpoint. So this is how we're all now converting our businesses, trying to get to a more remote capacity to give our staff the ability to work from home. The same is with our buyers and sellers that are doing this transaction. If they're at home, we've got to be concerned about their bandwidth and their speeds. So in the platforms, they will do a tech check to make sure that you have proper internet connectivity, don't have any latency, choppiness of speeds and video, because remember, this is a videoed experience now. Everything per state law and federal regulation says that the Notarial Act has to be captured on camera and stored for a minimum of 7 years. The storage of that does happen within the platform, so that is not on the agent to have to go out and get a bunch of storage. So the things to consider is we're moving to this environment. Get your closing rooms ready. So the majority of us in this field, the closing rooms all look the same. I've been in lots and lots of them. So they have a conference table with some chairs around it and some pretty pictures on the wall and some books. And then maybe if you're lucky, there's a TV screen in there. So we've got to really start getting these rooms ready, getting them tech enabled. So my suggestion is getting those TVs mounted on the wall, or having a desk in there and having a monitor, because now we're going to have more virtual interactions. So just envision your closer sitting in their office and those parties to closing in that room. I mean, this is one of the biggest hurdles we have right now is people simply not wanting to sit in the same room and touch paper and touch pens. So we'll get to that in a minute. There's some solutions, some creative solutions that are being thrown out in the industry as we speak. Upgrade your bandwidth. Look for multiple providers in your area. If there's fiber, get fiber. Yeah. If there's the Verizon Fios or the Comcast of the world, fiber's much fiber is much faster, and it is a clean line. You have one fiber strand that goes from to your home versus a copper connection. Everyone is on that same copper pipeline. So just remember that if your offices are in underserved markets, you need to look at that. I would highly advise you to separate your Wi-Fi network. So if you do have a Wi-Fi office, separate public from private. You don't want some kid in the lobby, listening to Spotify, dragging down, the speed of your environment. Also have your network security analysis and penetration tests. So of course, if we are all moving to a more online world with remote, there's going to be more attempts, more phishing attempts, more hacks. So make sure that you are taking care of your network, upgrade your IT. Those that have not moved to the cloud, or gotten your servers out of your closets, I highly suggest we go to that world immediately, as soon as possible, just because, here we are, we're dealing with the unknown. Those of us that are in Florida, we are, pretty prepared, because we have hurricanes every other year that, take out a section of the state. So we've gotten pretty good there. Start demoing and familiarizing yourself with the platforms. So I would suggest calling those providers as soon as we hang up here. Start training, start demoing, get familiar with them. And then lastly, focus on your workflows, because this is now a digital transaction that process changes. So the post-closing aspect, that changes. Your software, anyone on the major software title production systems, everything's going to change. So just start mapping that process out yourself. from order entry to ordering the search to processing the file to ordering the payoffs to closing the transaction to post closing and policy.
And just to let everyone know, I threw up a link to AT&T's fiber network map if you're curious to know if you're in that area. And then also, Dave has a comment about the digital closing room. He says, I guess I thought one of the main benefits of RON was people not coming to the office, so why invest money in a digital closing room? But you're not speaking like literally,
right,
per se, right?
I'm saying that we have a real estate industry that is used to the physical nature of closing. So realtors are going to be very scared, about it. Right now we're being forced to use this. So in a more normal environment, a virus-free environment, we're still going to conduct closings face-to-face. First-time home buyers still, realtors still want to attend that closing. They still want to be able to market to their client and to advise them. Lenders still may want to attend closing. So the closings will be, in person. We call it IPEN, in-person e-closing or in-person e-notary. So you'll have that piece as well as the true remote aspect of someone, signing in their home or at their office or in their car.
Right.
Gotcha.
Ben, your question, is there a YouTube video of an example of a RON closing? Many of the platforms on the websites, they have demos and examples of them happening.
Yeah, I would say just Google remote online notarization demo or whatever. You'll see all of them will pop up.
Right.
Yeah, I know Notarize has a few really good consumer-facing videos that show you the consumer side of the transaction.
Yeah.
I haven't seen too many with the title agent side, though.
Yeah, and one other thing, Aaron, you mentioned as soon as we hop off, call all these platforms and stuff. Remember, this is a global impact, and it's creating lack of bandwidth on many varieties, not just digital. So exercise patience.
Yeah, if you go to LinkedIn and look at the amount that these guys are having to scale right now. So it's not only every title agent that's asking them for solutions, it's every lender asking them for solutions and integrations at the same time. So that's a key piece. Of course, we'll talk about that in a moment, is the lender's ability to conduct a remote online notarization closing or e-closing prepared.
Right. And then the other part is, in the world of title agents, obviously we've got to follow various guidelines, and one being the title insurance agency fees tab under the compliance information on DFS. And obviously, if you're in the middle of a transaction and you're changing to a digital transaction, and there's additional fees, don't forget to notify the consumer as soon as possible, and then document it. Put that in your file as backup.
We've actually had some. There's actually some issues too, just with the remote sending a notary out into the field. A lot of the notaries are getting a little more hesitant about walking into someone's home and conducting that closing too, and being face to face. So there's a slew of new affidavits required. A slew of new, not only the borrower and the notary have to fill out a form that says that they don't have any of the symptoms before they walk into the home and sign a package physically. So that's a concern as well. Yeah. So the eNote and the eVault, you could go ahead and throw all the bullets up here. It's a real quick conversation, and I just want to let everyone know it's not. From the lender's perspective, it's not as simple as just, I can jump on the platform and no problem. Yeah. This is not just a PDF. This is not just a DocuSigned instrument. It's a living, breathing digital animal. The eNote is a debt instrument that has to be able to be sold via the secondary market to Fannie, Freddie, and the other servicers,
Mm-hmm.
and they have to have the eVault the capability. So that's where a lot of these platforms, like a Notarize or Notary
Right.
Cam or all of these guys, they're having to set up those eVaults on behalf of the lender to be able to transfer all of these electronic documents to Fannie and Freddie.
And that's probably why a lot of people, I see Andrea's comment here about taking a while to get a demo from the platforms. So you can imagine they're incredibly backed up, setting up all of those lenders, as well as, helping title agents, law firms, showing them how the platform works.
Yeah. Our demo, as a matter of fact, our beta got moved up incredibly fast because of this to develop the Notarized platform for agent. It was not intended to be introduced till about May, so it got introduced like this week.
Wow.
Did you want me to go on to the next slide, Aaron?
Yeah, that's enough on that. That's just a general understanding of the process with lenders. Yeah, so this one, these are some of the interesting. Look, we are title agents. We are an interesting animal. Oh, you have to go back. There you go. We get creative. We're fighters. We're scrappy. We're gritty. So we've gotten really creative as an industry. So here's some things that you want to consider implementing in your business now. If you don't have the ability to e-close or remote online, you want to stay safe right now. You want to keep your staff safe,
right,
and consumers and realtors, our clients as well. So, a few of these things in a minute. The LPOA, that's a very interesting conversation that is being had at the federal level as we speak with Fannie Mae. The ones I want to touch on: drive-through closings and curbside closings, keeping those parties in their car, walking out. I mean, we're now becoming, we're the Chick-fil-A, the Chick-fil-A of title. I'm going to trademark that, so no one steal that on this call, by the way. So we're going to become the Chick-fil-A of title. We're going to walk out. We're going to hand those parties a clipboard. We're literally, our staff is already wearing gloves, sanitizing the documents, handing it through to there. We're still checking the IDs. We're still getting copies of those as much as we can, chance of closing, and then having those parties sign in the comfort of their own car, and then hand us back the doc sets to be able to expedite closing that way. We've got a lot of videos that we're putting out right now on that. As a matter of fact, if you want to understand the process better, happy to share. Outside closings, just simply not being in a room. Those are patio closings. If you've got a nice little patio outside, go have a breath of fresh air and stay 6 feet away from each other. A thin closing. Thin is just limiting the amount of wet sign docs. So if you have e-close capability or e-sign capability, just take your standard closing docs. You've got 15 or 20 documents, and besides the affidavits require the Notarial Act. Get some of those, your privacy policy statement, some of your general forms. Get those e-signed ahead of time, just to make that closing experience less and limit the amount of interaction that we're having. Distance closing is it's like an unromantic dinner with your spouse. You're sitting on opposite ends of the table. On one side as the notary, and on the other side of the parties, and just let them you explain and sign. Keep your distance, and then the other piece is just utilization of other tech, and that's why I was saying the setting up of your digital closing room. If you have that monitor in there, your closer can be in their office conducting that closing video, just like we are here today, just like now, using a technology like this, just to explain those documents safely, and then just come in and expose, briefly for the Notarial Act if it has to be a wet sign.
Right.
The LPOA might be the most interesting piece here. So the LPOA is a limited power of attorney. This is being discussed as an emergency measure as we speak with Fannie. This would allow for the borrower So if a lender is not set up on a RON or eClose platform, and they don't have the ability to, in a timely fashion, there is chatter about giving the borrower via a RON a limited power of attorney. And attorneys on this call, please just bear with me for a minute. You got to think outside the box here for a second. You have to give authorization via video, via review of documents, and execution of an LPOA online to allow for a settlement agent or someone at that closing office to sign wet documents on behalf of the borrower to conduct the closing. So this is way outside the box thinking. I can't believe we're having this conversation, but if you think about the safety the issues that we're having over the virus and the safety that creates, the space, and if you do it properly and there's legislation and all the components, the video aspect, etc., this could be something that would really save lives, save the industry, and save people from having to come in. And I'm sure it'd be on a temporary basis only, but it is being discussed, and I can't believe I can't believe how seriously they are taking this right now.
Yeah, it's interesting how so many things are becoming of interest and a necessity through this, all that we're learning together. Scott, did you say that lenders?
Yeah, and I see I see a comment there too. Just to further that, the third party, the discussion will be around a third party notary. So you can't be in your office. My closer cannot authorize the processor to sign, the docs. That's kind of a little bit too close for comfort. So third party notary authorizing someone at the title office to sign on their behalf. But again, this is all in the infancy. So bear with us. We'll hear about it soon.
And I kind of keep seeing these questions pop up about lenders and is there a list? I wish there were. There is not a sound list. No. However, again, Amanda will send it out afterwards. I just forwarded you the links for Fannie and Freddie on their approved list, and then there's a couple other nationals. I think you got Quicken and Redfin, and a couple you named the other day, Aaron. But Wells Fargo, they're all still in the development stages of how they're going to adopt and adapt to RON. So there's work being done there, but those banks and lenders don't seem to utilize the technology yet. I think this is going to start applying some pressure through that. And obviously, sure. MISMO, which is a branch of the Mortgage Bankers Association, they have been a huge partner to Alta on the national stage of developing legislation to pass RON. So now, unfortunately, with the crisis we're in, it's definitely highlighting its need. I have emailed all the lenders.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I think a lot of lenders were just waiting for it to be a national, RON in all 50 states before they invest all the money and technology to really roll it out in a big way. So you did, the closings that we did 2 years ago, was a beta with UWM, with United Wholesale Mortgage. So that they did take the first steps in getting getting themselves prepared, and now the people that were in the discussion early on are now pretty well then in a good situation to handle this crisis.
Right. So on your screen you got the How Can You Help Title Action Network. If you go to alta.org/TAN, TAN, it will take you to the Title Action Network. And if you follow the steps, it will send an auto-generated, you don't have to type it, a letter to your senator and representative of your district in DC, highlighting the importance of those two bills. So that's an opportunity for grassroots efforts. I know we've used them locally here in Florida, and it helps put the on the need for it.
And I'm seeing a few comments here. David and Jamie, they mentioned emailing their lenders, and it seems like a lot of them are definitely open to using Ron and looking into the platforms that you're using. So if you have lenders that you specifically have questions about, definitely reach out to them and see what the leadership team of those lenders are saying and willing to do. But yeah, we can, do you guys want to go ahead and move on to the questions that we've got here? We've got about 19 in line.
Oh, wow. Do we? Okay. So, well,
fire away.
First, this one, this one's top of mind. This one that Sue has here. If you currently have 2 vendors and the lender wants a 3rd vendor, would you have to add them to your state filing? And the answer is you have 30 days to add them. So go ahead there, Amanda.
Okay, so let's see here. I think some of these are going to be very similar. It's a lot of questions about lenders. Which of the larger lenders are currently allowing remote online notarization in Florida? I think you mentioned a few, but I think you might have cut out a little bit. So I think you mentioned Wells Fargo was one, correct?
No,
they're not ready.
Don't listen to me.
Yeah. The large branch banks that you are used to are not yet. Fifth Third is working on their proprietary platform, and then Wells Fargo is not online yet. So the ones that I was mentioning are already digital based with Quicken and through their Rocket Mortgage, and then you got Redfin. So there's literally only a handful. Aaron, I think you had a couple of other
ones. Yeah, Thrive Mortgage, Guaranteed Rate, United Wholesale Mortgage, I believe Fairview. We actually it also depends on who the underlying lender is. If it's a correspondent lender versus a wholesale versus a broker, it's underlying all of that. So it's kind of hard to tell in this environment, whose money is being lent. So, and I'll just tell everyone, have patience. These lenders are all, believe me, they're looking, they're all calling, they're all looking. And these technology providers are so backlogged right now with requests that they're trying to handle them quickly. But remember, there's a lot of technology behind this. This is a lot of APIs. There's a lot of software engineers having to, bridges between loan origination systems and then the remote online. So, some of them have built some integrations, like Encompass has an integration built with some of them. So some will get there faster than others. It's just, be patient. I think that the industry is doing as much as they can, as fast as they can.
Right.
Let's see here. Yeah, a lot of these questions are about lenders. I think you might have touched on this earlier, but just in case, Amy asks, do we have to get an individual bond or would be covered under our company bond?
Good question. The bond is tied to the individual. It is the individual's bond. So that is the one element that does have to be tied to the person.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then another question, I think that he means the platforms, but do those allow foreigners as attestants?
Currently, no. I'll answer for that. So a foreign national, unless they have a U.S. Social Security number or tax ID number, they are not allowed to utilize any of the platforms yet. And the reason is because it is using credit-based knowledge authentication. So therefore, they have to have credit being reported by Experian or one of the major database companies of credit data. So that's how that's what the laws are written, that we have to do it that way to make sure that we're, that the person in front of the notary via tech is in fact that person. So currently, no, there's no international solution for that.
Yeah, not at the time.
And then we have a question here. Let's see, from Brenda. Florida title agents who are not acting as the online notary and instead using the notaries of a RON company, I think this is more of a comment than a question, but need to check whether that company's notaries are Florida registered online notaries or not. It is my understanding that Notarize continues to use only Virginia notaries.
So Scott, that's good. That I would say right now, because of the crisis, the underwriters have all allowed out-of-state notaries to service Florida because we weren't quite ready for this. We did not have a number of Florida e-notaries yet. So I would say that it is the underwriters are allowing it to happen right now. Lender underwriters alike. I mean, everyone's trying to help those in need. And then as we, as a state, build our database of notaries, we'll be able to take that back on.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend asking your underwriter, and just cover all bases.
All right. Next question. Is there a limit on the amount that can be charged for these services?
So the specific limit on the Notarial Act is $25. In terms of storage fees, other service fees, Aaron, those are not specific to the Notarial Act.
Correct. And again, I think that we will all get to a place where there's national recognition of the pass through of that fee,
right.
On the settlement statement separately. But we are not passing that fee through at this time. We're just absorbing it because, we're not looking to take advantage of stations and gouge consumers and ask more questions. Let's just take care of them. Let's take care of our client base and absorb that for now. And then we'll figure out how to work it into the fee structure as an industry and as a state.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Can we, and I think we've kind of touched on this too, but just to clarify, can we designate more than one platform that we're going to use? I.e., I'm going to use Pavaso and NotaryCan, for instance.
Yes. And in fact, you must notify the state of all platforms you intend to use or are contracted with.
All right. Let's see here. On the soft credit, how does clients fraud block affect this process? I'm not really quite sure.
You know what? It's because the credit is not being accessed for borrowing. It's being accessed for identification. I'm not seeing. It's a great question though. I'm not seeing any of the the LifeLocks of the world not allowing for for just pinging to make sure that it is that person. They are not opening lines of credit or applying for credit cards in their name. So that's a great question though.
Yeah.
Question for Florida users. We are signed up for Notarize, but in Florida, we require 2 witnesses on the warranty deed, and only option is to have both sellers together with 2 adult witnesses with them at time they sign on. Any better way to do this with other platforms? And that's from Sandy Lawson.
So some platforms already have it built in. Notarize is aware of the issue, and I believe you may see an announcement as soon as tomorrow on the release of a new feature. Currently, what we're doing in those situations where we're using a platform, we still have on the notary side. If we're using our closer, for instance, the law allows for one of my people to walk in with my closer. In the safety of their office conducting the closing, that person can be the witness. Or if it's a party on the other side, if it's the seller, for instance, they have an additional person at their home, that can be the witness as well. So there are workarounds to it. The issue is once, if and when we go more remote, if all of a sudden your staff is working from home and doesn't have the additions, and they can't call their 13-year-old and act as a witness with them. That's not allowed under Florida law.
Right. Okay. And I think we kind of discussed the fees, but someone just wanted to ask again what the fees are being charged for Ron. I guess after this happens and people are absorbing those fees, what kind of amounts are they looking at?
Yeah, it varies. I've seen it, vary. For the most part, access to a platform is, as little as $30-40 if you're going to do it yourself, and then the norm if you're using someone else's notary, it seems to be about $100 for use of the use of a Virginia notary or a Texas notary or whatever it may be. So, but again, that's all subject to change, and that's just kind of a broad sweep of what we're seeing out there. I do see the question there from Joanna with use of out-of-state notaries. Does Florida requirement credit-based still need to be done? It's not just to Florida that requires the credit base. That is national. That was written specifically by Mortgage Bankers Association and American Land Title Association. Those bare minimum requirements of the Notarial Act, credit-based, and the text and specs.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, here's a question about the e-note. Does the e-note become a physical piece of paper, a negotiable instrument?
No, the e-note is a digital. It is a digital virtual. And just stop calling it a piece of paper. That's the easiest thing. Though it looks like a piece of paper on a screen, it is literally bits of data that are now being transferred, and sold secondary market via, an encrypted path. So there is no paper note anymore.
Okay, let's see here. Here's one. I don't know if you guys discussed this earlier, but do you anticipate the lenders controlling the signing platform, and then basically agents will be dictated, by what?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. The short answer is yes. I mean, yeah. So what's happening is once a lender is integrated with a platform, then that's that the data flow happens that way. So what happens is when a platform integrates with a lender, all the lender's documents are tagged via API transfer. So these things are now meshed together. So when there's a clear to close issue, that doc set immediately flows into the online portal for the agent to access and for the borrowers to review in advance of closing. And that's kind of the beauty of all of this. It's no longer the last minuteness of waiting for paper to come over. Once those final docs are done, 95% of the lender's docs are the same. It's just those last little few pieces of the puzzle that we're waiting on. Data closing drives per diem interest, proration of taxes, association dues, etc. So we're seeing in some cases the borrower's able to review 95% of the docs ahead of time. And if they're not date sensitive documents, they can go ahead and execute prior to closing. It's only date sensitive docs and docs that need notarial act that have to be done at closing. So that's why 80% of the closing is now being done ahead of time, and we're getting these Ron signings done in less than 20 minutes.
That's great. Let's see.
Yeah, just real quick, I see Dave's question, or not question, but this Department of State link that he posted. Perfect link. And if you take off the last part of the approved notaries, that page will take you to the departments. Are you pulling it up now? Of the requirements for the state of Florida for Florida notaries to become an online notary.
You guys see it here?
But yeah, it came up on the small screen.
Yep, there it is.
There you go.
There it is. So if you can go up to the top into the URL, take and remove the last two words, approved notaries, just so it's remote online notary public. And then, yep, that page there of what you need to do to become an online notary, all your requirements, and then link to the application at the bottom. But we discussed earlier, you have to be an existing notary. If not, you have to take that 3-hour course first, or Commissioner of Deeds, take and pass the required 2-hour RON course. You see there's several providers there, along with FLTA. And then your E&O insurance that we discussed, the $25,000 bond in the notary's name, and then identifying the platform. It is the obligation of the notary to verify that the platform meets the Florida requirements. It's not on the state. That was the one piece that the state did not want. So submit the application through your bond agency with the check payment.
So I don't know. We have several more questions here. I don't know if you guys want to try and run through those real quick, or we do plan on doing a follow-up email with links of all the things that we've talked about here. And if you have further questions as well, we'll be sending you out information to contact Aaron and Scott with more questions.
Yeah.
But I just want to be respectful of your guys' time as well. We're almost at 1 p.m. So you let me know if you'd like to keep going with questions, or if maybe we should end now.
Well, we've canceled every live appointment that we have, so there's no,
okay.
We're just in lockdown mode anyway.
Well, so we have one question here about just what we started, just what we stated. Oh, go ahead.
Keep going. Thanks, Val.
Oh no, I saw Heather's question. Title license to conduct the settlement in this format. Yeah, guys, believe me, notaries are not taking our jobs. This is just allows them to handle the notarial act, and just like we did a mail away. We did a mail away. Mm-hmm. The notaries are just there to conduct a service on our behalf. We're still the title agents. We're still issuing policies. We're still doc prep. We're conducting the close. This is our transaction. This is our world. Don't be threatened by this in any way.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find some new questions. There are a lot of the same ones we've already kind of talked about. So here it says, I read the application to require that you have a contract with a platform, but I can't get a platform to respond. Do you agree that you have to have a contract? Do you have any suggestions as to how to get a platform to respond?
It's a time of supply and demand, and there are only a dozen platforms or so. Patience, but persistence.
And just to answer Jody real quick, she asked if there would be a link.
Matter of fact, if I know some of the.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say, Jody, we will be sending out a replay
back to the meeting.
link. So if you want to look at this again, everyone, you will get an email follow-up with the replay, so you can rewatch this at any time. So sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, no, I just there was one of the providers' website. Had a banner at the top like not accepting more applications at this time. I mean, again, these guys. This is a technology in its infancy for the most part, with few providers and limited amount of staff and resources and capability. So, these guys are getting volumes 100 times higher than ever expected. So they're trying to grow and scale as fast as humanly possible. So, like I said, take the slides, just the get creative slides. In the interim, that's exactly what we're doing too. We can't push all of our closing volume onto remote online. It doesn't work, in every circumstance. Matter of fact, there's probably only 10 or 20% of the closings that can be done in this way right now. So don't get, just apply, be patient, and get creative.
Yeah, and I just want to bring attention to Sultana's comment. She says Notary Cam is not requiring a contract right now. So if that's a concern of yours, that's something to look in right there.
Interesting.
Okay, let's see here.
Yeah, Carrie's question too. You can't just do a GoToMeeting or a FaceTime or no. It's not. You have to. That has to meet all the knowledge base authentication, the techs and specs, all of those things as laid out by the NBA and ALTA and state law. So I did see a title agent post something, last week. We're ready for FaceTime closings. No, you're not. You can't do it that way. It doesn't work. Just, having a camera and watching someone stamp a piece of paper. So please don't go down that path. Do the research. Become members of FLTA if you're not, because there's great information being passed from FLTA, ALTA on a daily as to the information and the requirements.
That's right. Skype is not one of the approved ones.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Let's see here.
That's right. Getting creative. Good job. Good for you.
Yeah.
It looks like Susan there's asking, you only need to notify the state if you're going to be the RON notary using a RON platform, but not if you are using the service of a RON platform and their notaries, correct? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. That's only for application of the e-notary.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. And I don't know when Susan asked this question, but we did talk a little bit about witnesses. But if you want to just comment again, she might have joined late. Are witnesses required for the RON notarization?
On the deed, specifically the warranty deed, state of Florida requires 2 witnesses, and I believe that the e-notary cannot act as one of those witnesses. I think that's the limitation. I believe that may be potentially changing, though. I think they're seeing that it is causing some issues.
And we already talked about where you can find a list of state-approved e-notaries. I know some people are from out of Florida. You mentioned, checking with your state, land title association as well. Yeah. I'm sure that they'll have some helpful information for you. Let's see here. And then someone already asked about having a title license, and Aaron mentioned that notaries won't be taking our jobs with us. So we got that one.
Correct.
So I think we've covered everything in the queue because a lot of them are very similar questions. And again, if we didn't get to anything, we will be sending out that follow-up email. You can respond directly to that, and I can forward those questions on to Aaron or Scott with anything else that you have specifically to ask. Is there anything else before we sign off, Aaron or Scott, that you'd like to add?
From my perspective, you're going to pass out the contact information. We've been doing these for 2 years now in the state and have hundreds of transactions under our belt. I'm happy to be a resource to anyone that needs help.
Yeah, and then from my angle, when it comes to becoming a RON, just know that some things are not overnight in the process. But once your application is received at the state, and as much as there's 100, 200 applications a day, they are turning those around same day, unless it hits the desk at 4 o'clock, and then it'll be the next day. But by and large, the state understands the importance and the value of this, and they are making as much effort on their side to bring this to light and life. So
yeah, they're doing a great job. I mean, it is. We started last week. We started last week with 8 e-notaries and ended the week with 31. So they process and they get through that stack of paper fast and just make sure it's filled out the proper way.
That's great.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Regarding the question about the chat log, I'll see what I can do about pulling that. I've never done that before with this platform, so I'll definitely try and get you all as much information in the follow-up as possible. And thank you all for joining us. I hope you found this informational. We are going to be having more of these virtual town hall style meetings. Tomorrow we have one with Jonathan Sparks from Sparks Law talking about the Families First Corona Response Act. So if you're an employer, that's definitely a really pertinent topic for you. A lot of things have changed in terms of employee law or employer law because of that.
Sanitize.
Yes. And then we've got some coming up next week as well.
Say sanitize, people, sanitize.
Yes, remember, wash your hands, don't touch your face, 6 feet apart.
On a virtual meeting.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I hope you all stay safe, be well.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.